Okay, everyone ready to start playing?
Yeah.
Is this thing on? Okay, here we are live at Club Dub Studio, and this is another Date with Destinee. And on this very special 16th, sweet 16th episode, we have a couple of sisters joining us. Destinee's, now you've all heard of Destinee's Child. Today you get to meet Destinee's mom. And,
how's it going?
That's funny.
So I'm Eric Hansen of Eric Hansen Music. We just finished a delightful time last evening. I got to piggyback on some of the success of the wonderful McFunky to enjoy, kind of to turn the whole Las Positas winery into my own private birthday bash. And it was just, everyone there was fantastic. The service was excellent. The servers, the quality product that came in bottles was outstanding, and the flatbreads and the other items that were brought to us. But mostly, we were all just enjoying the hell out of ourselves. And this was my first opportunity to meet Destinee's mom. And I'm going to have Destinee introduce herself next, and then she'll help get her mom started on her own introductions.
So my name is Destinee. I'm a bartender. I'm a crazy cat lady. And I've also introduced the crazy cat aspect into my mother's lifestyle as well. Yeah,
This is true.
She used to hate cats. She'd always be like, "No, you cannot come bring your cats to my house. No, because they're not good." And then what happened? She got a cat and was like, "Oh my God, this is the love of my life."
It's true.
Yeah. So anyways, that's me. My mom's in town. She lives in Tennessee in an undisclosed area.
Oh, I'll share. So my name is Cassandra Burnett. I am Destinee's mother. I recently left California, as I like to call it, for Tennessee and for freedom. And yes, I am a cat mom now. What happened was a very cute little tortie started hanging around our house, and she started bringing us mice. And it was funny because my husband was like, "Hey, can she come in?" And I was like, "No, I mean, no like kitties." And she just kept bringing us mice. And finally, I let her in. I'm definitely a tough one. And now I love this cat. And about, I think it was April, I was here for work in April. And my husband calls me and he goes, "Hun, I think Spooky is pregnant."
That's the name of the cat. Spooky.
Yeah. So now we have Spooky and her 4 kittens. And I'm going to keep them all.
She went from none to 5.
Yeah. Yeah, that's how it happened.
A gradual transition.
So we're both the crazy cat ladies now. You've topped me.
Thanks, kiddo.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well done. I love the cats. They're great.
Yeah. Speaking of, I should probably bring them down again.
That's a beautiful idea.
Yeah, I'll definitely bring them down again.
Fantastic. That's something to look forward to after the break. We'll get to meet Destinee's cats. And this time, I'm sure they're going to be a little less. Last time they were a little bit bewildered by not too sure what to do with the downstairs.
Mm-hmm. They're always a little skeptical of coming down here. They kind of just walk around and go. So you want to tell us more about why you left California?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So my husband and I, and Destinee has 12-year-old twin brother and sister. Everything in Livermore, the school was closed for 20 months. It felt like everybody had sort of lost their minds. And I'll say this because I want to share some information. So I'm a realtor now. I'm not embarrassed to say that. I sell real estate for a living. And before I did that, I was a bartender. And before that, I actually I was an EMT. And when I got my EMT, we actually had to be, this is important, y'all, get your pen and papers and write this down. We had to be OSHA certified, okay? And anytime you're transporting somebody with a communicable disease like tuberculosis, for example, the only thing that can protect you from transmission, are you ready for it, folks, is an N95 mask, okay? Not the mask that your grandma made you. And, I knew going into this information, and I tried my best to share it with as many people as I could, but it just seemed that everybody was so entranced by the news, by the media, and they were just eating it all up, The other thing that I think, and, I could be wrong, I'm here to learn, I don't know everything, that's for sure, is I believe that when human beings look at each other, there's an energy exchange, right? We are sharing an energy. We are smiling. We are laughing. And I know that there is something inherently wrong with the fact that everybody was walking around with their masks. And I've noticed even now the change. But again, back to everything being closed for 20 months. I lost everything. I lost my Girl Scout troop. I lost the school was closed, so I couldn't volunteer. I used to volunteer at this garden called Fertile Groundworks. I couldn't volunteer there. And it was heavy. There was really, and everybody was so afraid. They didn't want to connect, they didn't want to connect anymore. They just, it's really hard to put it into words, it was bad. It was.
Well, I feel like it's not just like an energy exchange too. Like when you have the mask on, you seem so isolated, just like you're not a part of the community. And I understand people are like, oh, like I'm just trying to protect others. But the facts are that the masks really
They don't do anything.
They don't really do anything. Sure, they might stop cough droplets, but other than that, they're not really like helping in any way, shape, or form. So it's also just like an exchange of like expression too that people aren't getting.
Yep, it's very damaging psychologically and especially to children. And I set up a page on Facebook, but I just got tossed back in Facebook jail for a 29-day sentence as an early birthday present from the Holy Mother Zucker. And so I get to enjoy basically all the people writing on my wall, happy birthday. I had to send them individual PMs to say, I can't heart or like your birthday wishes because, so then, but I guess in a way it made it more personal. But most of my 29 sentences in Facebook jail did not have that benefit. So originally with Facebook jail, you lose your PM ability too. So you can have a client looking you up from your social media and say, hey, I'd like to help to get a Lexus or something like, whatever they're used to checking in with you for. And you wind up appearing like the major backside because you're leaving them with radio silence. So they're just assuming, boy, this jackass isn't even answering. And you had no way to even tell them why.
Right.
So that was one of the joys. But I did set up a Facebook page called Mask Holes. And I also set up one on my censorship-proof website, it's a new social media called Wimkin, Wimkin. And the best thing about this one is you can set up a URL without any pre-qualifier. So if it's available, you get it immediately. So for instance, if you go to wimkin.com/maskholes,
I love that.
You will immediately find content that pertains to this. And speaking of OSHA, they have an actual industrial hygienist testifying on exactly how ludicrous from a scientific standpoint the new position from Fauci is versus his original position, which actually made some sense. So I'm sorry for getting too much away from our introductions, but I just wanted to let the audience know that there is a place that you can direct when you're having these conversations with friends and family. Just go to wimkin.com/maskholes, and all the information that you need to basically eliminate their nonsense is right up at the top.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I want to, back to the mask, I want to touch on something that I think, and I'm just going to dive right in because life is short and we should all be saying the things that we want to say. That's the other thing I noticed. I noticed that there was a huge group of people speaking out, and a lot of us, myself included in this group, people are afraid. But let me share that I think this is some weird, sick, and twisted ritual. I think it shows submission. I'm not really entirely sure to who or why, but I will not be participating. I admit there were times I wore that mask in fear, but I know better now, and I'm stronger for leaving California. But I just can't participate in that ritual.
Yeah.
In fact, the gentleman, Nick Sky, that you met yesterday, kind of helped to set me straight because I was doing a little of I started wearing the fedora as a hat storage strategy, as a mask storage. So I just tossed the mask under and it's not like it's getting messed up by my hair. So, so I'd have that thing always available. So it's like, we're going to the store, just toss it on and put it back under the hat. So but one time we went to a Chili's in San Jose, and it was the very day before they were lifting the inane mandate. And I went there with my brother, who you met.
Yeah.
And Nick, who you also met yesterday. We were all together partying last night, and we might show some pictures and links in the show notes. But we went into this Chili's, and previously, Nick had his lanyard made that explains his medical exemption.
Right, his exemption. Right.
So he was wearing that, and then I went in, and Nick was upset that I was complying. He's like, you don't need it. So anyway, we were there. I kind of wanted lunch. So, and this was several weeks before the more recent story. And so the guy went, I'll talk to my manager. The guy came back out, goes, okay, you're okay. And then he saw that I had my mask on now. So he's all, you're okay. So he went and sat at the bar, had her damn ribeye. And a damn El Presidente margarita, which this was before.
Shaker.
Yeah. Woo! So this was before my Atkins, the keto thing. So I was partaking of a proper margarita with every lunch. So
let me add, I bartended at Chili's for 8 years, and that's actually where I met my husband.
Outstanding. Which Chili's?
The one in San Leandro. I actually opened that Chili's, and I was the last of the original 8 bartenders. I was the last one to leave of the original 8.
Outstanding. Yeah. So I on that more recent encounter at Chili's, Kelly, my brother, and Nick, we were all going to go to the Chili's. We walked in and the same guy's there. And he's like, well, he's okay, but you guys aren't. Nick was upset that I was ready to put the mask on. And ultimately, Kelly was the tiebreaker. So we decided not to. But anyway, we were kind of standing up to this nonsense, wound up going to a Denny's that's almost across the street on Blossom Hill, and had a fine lunch, and haven't been back to that store since. And it was like really ridiculous that the day before that this guy was like, he enjoyed this position of power that he was granted, and clearly. So a lot of these fascistic types are energized whenever these mandates start coming down. But Nick kind of like, at first I'm just kind of like, I don't really want to battle, and I don't want to piss people off before I eat a meal. So the only time I'm going to challenge people at a restaurant normally is after my last dessert of my last meal at the said location, for practical reasons.
Right.
Let's call it health reasons.
Yeah.
But after they started putting the masks on, I was for the first time just like, I'm not doing it. Before I see the sign, I'm like, okay. When I saw the sign that said, if you're vaxxed, you don't need one, it's like, I'm not discussing that with anybody, so I don't need one. So ultimately, I'd go into the stores, but I'd kind of cooperate with these signs. Once they brought this mask garbage back, then I knew that menticide video I had seen was exactly right. They escalate their tyranny, relax. Yeah. Escalate, relax. Yes, so it's all an upward curve.
Yes.
So this time I'm looking at all these idiots with masks, and I'm like, what are these for? The monkeypox?
Yeah.
And so I went into the Whole Foods to do my shopping. I noticed that I was, occasionally you see another face, and it's like, wow, it's nice to see your face, sir or ma'am. So you see some normal people, and then you see all the sheep and the donkeys just going around. So anyway, they're braying in there. So I was in there shopping, and then I hear this announcement over the PA.
Of course.
Shoppers, we do have requirement for masks. If you're uncomfortable for any reason wearing a mask, you can bring your stuff up, and we'll get you checked out right away. And I'm like, nope, I'm going to finish my list and I'm going to do this thing. And I basically was prepared for whatever might happen next. And now my buddy Nick was explaining that if you have to, you just throw however much money down if they're not going to let you take the stuff and put whatever money in more. I'm like, dude, that's not my style.
Yeah.
If they come up to me and they really press it, I'll pull the mask from under my hat, but then I'm going to start speaking through the mask in a very audible manner to make damn sure people understand that they're having their faces and their souls stolen with this anti-science, pseudoscience quackery.
You bet they are. You bet they are. And that's the other thing too. Like, I mean, okay, so, not to jump around, but this is moving to Tennessee. Nobody is wearing masks. And here's the other weird thing. Like, if I'm not wearing a mask and I'm standing in line and there's a lady behind me wearing a mask, it's normal. We talk normal. We treat each other with respect. When I would shop in Livermore, because I admit, yes, it was me. I was the one without the mask. And I was brave, but the whole time I would be in that fight or flight mode because I would be worried about what if I saw someone and what if somebody came up to me, and it was constant. And I would usually have Jack and Jaylee, the twins, with me, and they weren't wearing masks either. But I know for them that was really hard. There was a point where I would say, okay, kids, you don't have to come if you want to, because my son would be like, Mom, I don't want anybody to say anything to us. I don't want them to do anything. And I also want to point out that a lot of people don't realize all this Build Back Better, Green New Deal, Agenda 21, New World Order, the Great Reset, they all mean the same thing, okay? There's a reason that all of these governments are moving in sync, okay? It's not by accident. And anybody that speaks out or that says anything against it, it doesn't matter whether you're in the grocery store, Facebook, Twitter, people are being silenced on a massive, massive level. And, that really put fear in me. And I said, we got to get out of here. We got to go to Tennessee. And now when people meet me in Tennessee, I realize life is short, and we have to find the others, you guys. We have to find the others who are going to help us, because they will not stop. But when I meet people and they say to me, why did you move here from California? I look them dead in the eye and I say, I moved here to better position my family against the New World Order. And I'll tell you what, not one person has said what. They sometimes they cry. They always hug me and they say, good for you, kiddo. You're spot on. We know what's happening. So there are others out there. We have to keep pressing. We have to keep talking. I don't know. I think it's important.
This is a fantastic start to what's clearly going to be a fantastic Sweet 16th episode. We're going to go to a quick break, and we'll be right back on a date with Destinee and Destinee's mom.
Perfect. That was really good.
We're like burning the thing down already.
Oh, yeah.
I'm ready.
This is going to be our most popular episode. I don't know. It might be on par with Nick. We'll see.
It was just like, all of you guys, I was like, wow, this is, and plus it was like, it's right now, we all need, what's the word? Community, right? We all need that.
We definitely
right now.
need community.
And a lot of people are feeling like isolated and left out. So it's like I'm even getting the chills right now
Yes,
saying it out loud, because it's like, we
All right, get the water, because we got to bring this on the mic.
Bring it. Yeah, you got to say it on the podcast.
Yep. It's just too damn good to not go on.
You're right. Where do I?
This is fantastic. Sweet 16th episode.
I love it.
Woo!
You have such a great, radio voice personality. I love it. It's great.
Okay.
So we'll start with...
Yeah, so we'll start with what you were saying, and then we'll go back. Yeah.
Go back to what you were saying.
Oh, maybe I'll just say one word, and then we'll go back. I won't throw it out too much. And we're back in with the 16th episode of Date with Destinee. featuring our special guest, Destinee's mom. And so far, we're off to an exceptional start. She did mention Build Back Better, and I actually have an article about that I might put in the comments, but this was all predicted or pre-explained in the 80s. And one statement I make routinely online on social media when I'm permitted is Build Back Better begins and ends with burning everything down. Mm-hmm. But Destinee was coming up, made a couple brilliant points, so we'll have her continue from here. If I haven't derailed you.
No, not at all. Well, I wanted to mention also because my mom was saying how people are being censored on Facebook and Twitter and social media. People are being censored in other places as well, in real life situations. People are being censored at school. Kids in high school are not allowed to speak out. They're not allowed to say how they feel. If they speak out against anything that goes against the mainstream, they're being called hate. So it's hate speech, or it's racism, or it's sexism.
They're being defamed.
Defamed.
It's defamation to call them racist and sexist when they're just explaining basic science.
Yeah, and they pull out these buzzwords that rile people up, but it's in high school, colleges, it's in work environments. And I don't just mean work like Google and Facebook. I mean like it's in restaurants and grocery stores and other places that we all shop as well. So it's widespread. It's not just on social media.
Well, and I'll make it short and sweet, but I just want to add, I mean, it's all by design. They are literally brainwashing the public. And I believe it was Obama that created an executive order. And I admit, I do not remember the executive order number, but that's not the point. The point is that the executive order that he put together allows them to push propaganda at us, right? And nobody is asking questions. I mean, I don't understand how more people do not see this.
I don't really understand it either, because I mean, I was driving this morning and I was thinking to myself, like, how the hell do people just watch TV and go about their everyday and they don't question things? They don't question, why would the news be telling us the truth? Why would they tell you the truth? For what reason? What do they have to gain by telling you the truth? Nothing, absolutely nothing. They have everything to gain by lying to you.
Right. Well, and I mean, I'm sure we've all seen the flow chart that basically explains who owns the media, right? Mm-hmm. They own everything. They own the media. They own the newspapers. I mean, they're able to control. I mean, in reality, this is a spiritual and an information war. I mean, and people don't realize you kids, adults, we are at war here.
Oh yeah. We're at war. Okay. It's not just like war like you see in like the Ukraine right now. Right now, because there's like other areas of the world where they're like having hot wars. I fully believe that we're in a cold war. We're in the information age. This is a cold information war. It's psychological warfare.
I agree, kiddo.
And they're attacking the kids. They're literally attacking children in elementary schools and in high school and in college, because at those age, people are so malleable. I was in college. I was being indoctrinated. I was one of these people. I'm not even going to show pictures of like what I used to dress like, how I used to behave. I was crazy, psychotic, and it took a really good friend of mine to like bring me out of that headspace. And if it weren't for her, I wouldn't be the person who I am today. But yeah, seriously, they're just attacking the young people.
Well, there is hope. In my recent travels, I met a young couple, and ironically, they were from Tracy, and they both got their religious exemptions so that they could go to college. And we just started talking. And again, when I meet people, I put it all out there because again, life is short. But I was so proud of these kids. They were about your age, kiddo.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was the boyfriend and girlfriend. They were so smart, just like you, so intelligent. And they were actually in disagreement with their parents because their parents were like, hey, you better get the jab, da. And these kids, and I mean, I told them, I said, I'm so proud of you for going against the grain and for going against what to be able to think for yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's actually another thing that what's funny is our government is pushing they're pushing kids to go against their parents. Now, parents who are like, around my age, millennial parents, usually parents who are around your age don't think the same way, but I think you're kind of like right on the edge.
I consider myself a Generation X, even though I'm like on that cusp.
You're kind of I'm on the other end of the cusp, but you're on the top end of the cusp. That's funny. So I'm a millennial, but the millennial parents are the ones who are really forcing this and pushing this. Older parents aren't doing that. And it's funny because the government is like trying to push kids to not follow their parents. Oh, don't listen to your parents. Listen to the government. Listen to us. We're the ones who are going to be giving you your scholarship for doing absolutely nothing but whatever your skin color is. We're going to be the ones who are giving you the money you need to, live in an apartment because you can't afford to live in an apartment because the economy has collapsed.
That is the Maoism.
Yeah.
That's what they did in mainland China for their 70-year horror show. The first thing they did is went to the schools and used the language buai mama, buai papa.
Ah, wow.
Don't love mom, don't love dad.
Wow.
And so so it's a direct assault.
That's worse than Marxism.
And again, we have all these organizations out in the open with their, we're here to disrupt the family unit.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, disruption. So I guess that means that you're undermining our way of life, and therefore you should be expelled immediately. And that's one of the points I make often is that there's, we have so many people struggling to get here that are legitimate American spirited that would come here for freedom. Mm-hmm. And instead, the party of crime puts hard barriers for those people to keep them the hell out, like they did with Elian Gonzalez, remember?
Yeah.
The Clintons brought in goons with automatic weapons and had it pointed in the face of the uncle holding this little kid.
I remember that.
To get him back to Cuba. Okay, so that's how their attitude is with having people come here. If they like escape and die trying, we don't want those because those are going to actually vote for liberty. Meanwhile, they crack open the borders to bring in the absolute worst that can't write or read in their own language, that are only coming here for handouts. And then meanwhile, the poor people of Hong Kong are left hanging, the Cubans are left hanging, and there's absolutely no path whatsoever. So one of the things I point out to these creeps when they'll use their defamatory tactics, oh, you're xenophobic, oh, you're that. I'm like, what are you talking about? I'd gladly trade each of you. And I'll put up a nice picture of showing the Portland morons with Antifa masks and the Chinese Communist flag. And then on the other frame, it has the Hong Kong people holding up American flags. Mm-hmm. I'll gladly trade each of you for 2 or 3 very nice Cubans or Hong Kong refugees for an immediately safer, cleaner, and more prosperous America.
Absolutely.
Agreed.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Why don't we just do a swap? Like, if you kind of believe in a certain way, we'll just make a deal with China and we'll trade and see how you feel in a year.
I'm all about the swap, but I'm also, and this is kind of being funny, but can't we just draw a line right down the middle of America and be like, hey, all of you libs
freedom
over there,
lovers, you come over here.
Yeah. And the rest
crazy
of you,
psychos.
Yeah.
Y'all can go over there.
Yeah. Get over there.
And live in tyranny.
Yeah. And
Perfect.
We're just going to do what we want.
Now, I would love that, but it would never work. It would never work because there's honestly a lot of people talking about a peaceful divorce. I just don't see that happening because, one, the people who are in power right now, and I'm talking about the Biden administration and other people who are above the presidential powers, they wouldn't want to give up what certain states have. So if Texas or New Jersey or other states wanted to peacefully remove themselves from the United States, well, they don't want to give up the oil. They don't want to give up any of their marine bases there. That would bring full scale war, like another civil war.
Well, it's their newest plantation. They're not going to let their slaves escape. And in fact, every single communist revolt around the world finishes with the wall built in the other direction and people prevented from escaping. Mm-hmm. And so people have very short, they learn nothing of history these days. And the Berlin Wall was a perfect example. You take the same people, the same city, and split it down the middle with communism on one side and freedom, free market on the other. And so they had to build a wall and shoot people dead if they tried to get out of the communist side. So it's like a pretty clear message. And eventually the global cabal had to take that wall down because it was pretty inconvenient for them. It was like highly visible. And then people are so dumb today that you have the Occupy Democrats literally made a meme that referred to the Berlin Wall and said, "Oh, Hitler liked his wall, and Trump likes his." So they're trying to compare Trump to Hitler based on a Berlin Wall built by communists after the war.
Well, I find that very interesting because, so I have a 93-year-old grandmother, and I love her. And one of the things that when I was really young that she did, that my grandparents and my parents did, the first thing they did was they taught me to think for myself. The second thing that they did, instead of getting us presents, they got us books. And I think that's important because one of the books that my grandmother had me read was The Captains and the Kings by Taylor Caldwell, which basically says that, all these people in power, they're selected. And then Crossing the Rubicon, which explains 9/11. And then, and I remember the day that I figured out, that they were trying to implement the New World Order. And this was actually back in 2006. And I want to say this because I remember sharing these ideas and thoughts with my grandmother. And, again, she just gave me the tools and the books to read. But I remember saying to her, I said, "Grandma, it feels like the Nazis never died." And she said to me, "Kiddo, you are spot on." So I find that hysterical that they're trying to compare, to compare Trump, and Hitler. That's funny to me because it's actually, everything's inverted. It's exactly the opposite of what they say. It's
Well, they're projecting.
Absolutely.
That's exactly what they're doing. They're like, because everything that they're doing, they're trying to put the blame on the other party or the others, and they know they can get away with it because our population is dull.
Well, I wanted to actually, for you to watch it last night, but I made a video. It was back in July 2021. And what confuses me is, you're right, the mainstream media and our government is gaslighting the entire country. And what boggles my mind is how people, again, like you said earlier, they're not questioning it. They just think all this is normal and everything's going to go back to normal. And I hate to be the bearer of bad news. The only way that is going to happen is when we say it, when we come together and we take a stand. So, not wearing the masks, not getting the jab, whatever it takes. I mean, our sovereignty and our future is at stake.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
Absolutely. And that's actually one of the things I'll point out when I'm engaging the left online is because all they do is projection. They're not even original enough in the mind to come up with an insult of their own making. Every single thing they accuse us of is what they are to the core. So what I'll remind them is that, today's global communists borrow much in methods and attitudes from their National Socialist forebears. And they all were born of, and in fact, all of the WEF, Klaus Schwab, all these people are absolute Nazis with no denying it. And when you listen to their eugenics speak, and you have he took on a pet that's the author of *Sapiens*, Yuval Harari.
Yes.
He's clearly, we could not know if he's like a gay boy lover of Klaus Schwab. So that would be purely speculation and nobody should engage in that kind of thought. However, he's clearly a pet. And so they're in these circles. And when you hear them speak, it should be so offensive to any American. It's like, we the elites. It's like, I mean, you couldn't, if someone were making a parody or like some kind of dark comic strip, the language they're using, it still wouldn't approach the actual language they're using in real life. And as Destinee had pointed out a couple times, or that we both do, it's not a theory when the conspirators are openly telling you and showing you what they're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's part of it, though, right? There's some weird, sick, twisted. That's the rules because, and forgive me if I mangle this up, but I believe they have to tell us what they are doing because it absolves them from any karma that may come back on them. So, a lot of the weird things that we're seeing in the movies and things like that.
Because they own Hollywood as well.
Yeah, well, of course they do. They absolutely do. That's a whole that's a whole podcast in itself. But I follow this woman. I won't say her name just because I just want to protect her. But I follow this woman on Twitter, and she has been able to identify the sexes via skeletal traits, right? Mm-hmm. Their jaw, their gait. Their fingers, and it is a fact that when they have discovered burial mounds with multiple skeletons in the ground, they have been able to, by identifying the skeletal remains, what their sex is. And all of these people in Hollywood, it's pretty disgusting. They worship the Baphomet, and this sounds like insanity, but all of them are transgenders, every single one. And this woman, you can, message her and go, hey, do Tom Cruise or do, Angelina Jolie. You can name anyone, and she'll pull the pictures and show their gait and be able to determine, and it's all of them. It's every single, and I admit that sounds far-fetched. It sounds crazy. A lot of this stuff does, but the world that we live in right now is crazy, but they own Hollywood. And again, they worship the Baphomet, which is, I don't know if you've seen it, but it's the horns. With the horns. And, the Baphomet is a transgender in itself.
Yeah. There's something that I feel like universally it was just taught to children in high school. If you repeat a lie often enough, it then becomes the truth. And it's almost like everybody was taught this, but people are too narcissistic to realize that those kinds of things can happen to them as well. Like, we can be fooled, we can be tricked into believing the wrong thing. And it's actually quite simple. And people are just too prideful to recognize it or to admit it.
Oh, fun. I have 2 fun facts on narcissism that I got to share.
Yeah.
First, kindergarten teachers have been reported to be able to recognize the kids that came in through daycare versus the ones that were raised by mothers. And it's not to say something bad about the poor kids that were at what some call the day orphanage.
Yeah.
And there are some times that there's a practical reality that requires it. And in my own house, I permitted a couple 3 days a week for a maximum of 6 hours a day when they're, just because it was a neighbor and it was people I trusted a lot, but it's still taking away something and taking away part of that initial bonding process. But it creates narcissism because the children, instead of learning love and nurture or the lessons they take in from that and being stable and feeling a place in the world, they are instead feeling a need to compete from the very beginning. They don't have the luxury of waiting, of deferring that. So they're very competitive in their spirit, and that feeds kind of a narcissistic attitude and personality. And the narcissism is proven when they go out and they talk about microaggressions, because their idea that they just had over that morning cup of coffee, that they just think things should be this way, is now absolute. And if they encounter anyone that same afternoon that so much raises an eyebrow when they convey this nonsense that they just came up with, then it's a microaggression. So to categorize someone like not embracing every nonsense that comes out of their skull, that is classic textbook, extreme narcissism. And then the other thing that was kind of fun was they actually petitioned, much like the Gay Marriage Club petitioned to get the word marriage redefined in the dictionary. Literally, they petitioned to do that. We're not trying to redefine it, but then what's this petition? So much like that, they tried to remove narcissism from the PDM.
What?
Yeah, so that's for those that are just joining from a different background. That's like the psychiatric diagnosis manual, I think. So they were trying to remove that. And so I have an article about it that I share. And whenever I share it, I'll add some icing to the cake. I'll say, oh, yes, see, you guys are so, it's such a routine part of the Democrat personality disorder. That they had to literally petition to remove it from the PDM so that Democrats could pretend to be normal.
Wow, that's crazy. That's insane.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, because there's tons of people I know that definitely exhibit narcissistic behavior. And there's people I know who've been in relationships who, have dated narcissists, and trying to remove that from like a psychological behavior is psychologically narcissistic in itself.
Yeah, there's
it's kind of an oxymoron.
I created a concept called Democrat personality disorder, and I set up a page on Facebook about it that like gets into it.
Yeah.
But whenever I'm dealing with them, they're basically either narcissists or exhibiting sociopathy. Like, oh, how do we fix climate change? Kill all boomers. So I'll tell them. So that's how they talk.
Commit genocide.
Oh, yeah,
Great.
Yeah. They're very comfortable with stuff. So I said, don't feel too small, because your sociopathy is actually one of two dominant features of your Democrat personality disorder. And of course, the other is narcissism. And I'll also have some fun by reminding them that projection is their favorite pastime. So,
Absolutely, it is. One I've noticed too, just to add to what you said, because I used to volunteer a lot at my kids' school, and I could even tell which kids, I mean, like you said, the daycare kids, I could tell which kids had absent parents just by their behavior, how they were acting in the lunchroom.
oh yes, and the absent fathers in particular. Yeah, basically, if you have, in fact, if a parent's missing, it's almost better that the father is the one there, because for early childhood and nurture, the mother is supremely important. And that's why adoption to so-called gay couples is ridiculous. You're depriving them of something that's essential to their upbringing. And that's true both ways. Doesn't matter if it's two men or two women. They need a yin and a yang. They need both components. And but men become more important in the later years of upbringing, because they create the structure of setting boundaries and the structure of being like organized, instead of just like going off the cuff and kind of running a little bit more on emotional content. And so they did we brought this up on another show, but it's very important. They removed elder elephants from the pack. And then they observed a surprising effect where suddenly the adolescent males were slaughtering rhinoceros for sport. So,
Whoa.
And then when they restored the elder elephants back in, this practice ended. So now when you see these polar bear hunting and all these ridiculous youths doing their behaviors, this wild, unhinged violence is absolutely correlated to fatherless homes.
100%. This is where I'm going to tell everyone to go read Candace Owens' Blackout, because she is constantly talking about how absent fathers she specifically talks about like the Black community, absent fathers in the Black community leads to like gang relations. But that's, it's not just, excluded to the Black community. That's in any community. Absent fathers can basically turn you into a stereotype. It's the worst thing that could bring a child down possible. But just to say, I thankfully actually had two fathers in my life, because I had my biological father and then I had my stepdad who came into my life. And if he didn't come into my life, I'm sure things would have gotten a lot worse with me, because I was crazy.
I think so.
Yeah,
Mom
Jack really.
Well, and I mean, there's that duality in our lives, because her grandmother, my mom, married a man who, he is my stepdad, but I don't even call him my stepdad. I call him my father, and he walked me down the aisle. And I'll tell you what, if my mom wouldn't have not married him, my life would have taken a horrible turn. And, yes, I'm sure it's not a secret, but I had Destinee at 15 out of wedlock. And I know that part of the reason that I pushed myself so hard was because I wanted my dad, my stepdad, I wanted him to be proud of me.
Yeah.
I cared what he thought, I mean, and I love my mom, may she rest in peace, but it was more important to me, what my dad thought of me.
Yeah.
And I remember when you were little, I remember, your grandpa saying, "Oh, you're going to be," to me, he would say, "Oh, you're going to be poor and on welfare and, and you're going to be a statistic." And I remember hearing those words. And not only do I remember hearing those words, but that lit a fire under my butt because I said, "You want to bet?"
Yeah.
You want to bet? I will show you, I will show you that won't be true.
Yeah.
And so again, I knew in that moment, that having a male role model, even if it's not your dad, maybe you have an uncle or, whatever.
Having a male role model
is important. I mean, in fact, when we moved to Tennessee, the school that the kids go to, the principal is a man. And I know all the women out there, I'm going to lose my woman card, and that's fine. The principal is a man and the vice principal is also a man. And it is different. They go in there and those kids, they don't mess around.
Yeah.
I don't know what, I mean, I understand these kids think that they can, I don't know. It's just the different
a gay
energy.
Principal and vice principal relationship going on.
No.
Just kidding.
No, I see where your head's at, but no, I mean, I think these kids, look, even you as an adult, you don't notice it, but I notice that even when you talk to your grandfather, that what he thinks of you matters, and even me as a grown woman, what my father thinks of me, matters.
Yeah. Even when I talk to my dad, like Jack, my dad, well, both, but anyways,
well, I know there's things you tell me that you wouldn't tell your dad and your grandpa.
True. Definitely true. There's definitely things that I would not include in conversations
which is
with
fine.
my grandfather,
which is great.
But it is true. Having that male figure in your life really does add balance. Because when it was just you and me, I was incredibly emotional. I kind of just wanted to like do whatever I want. And whenever you kind of tried to tell me what to do, I was always like, who the hell do you think you are? You think you can tell me what to do? And then Jack would come in and he would talk rationally and be like, well, she is your mother. And I'd be like, damn it, you're right.
Well, I want to add something to that. So I did have some guidance, and I think I might have told you this one other time, but if I didn't, this might be your first time hearing it, but I think it's important. So yes, when my husband and I got together, Destinee was not used to having a father in the home. And it caused a lot of problems. And I remember calling my dad, the one I was just telling you guys about, and, on the phone crying. And I remember my dad saying, which made me so angry, he said, "Cassandra, when Destinee reacts to you, the way that you're going to solve this problem is you're not going to react." And I remember thinking, what? That is insane, because when I had poor behavior, my dad reacted, but he explained it to me. He said, "Listen, you had her when you were young, okay? You have to remind her and show her that you're her mother. She does that to you to get a reaction out of you. And the way that you're going to control this situation is you are not going to react." And let me tell you guys, that was probably one of the hardest things that I've ever done, because Destinee knew I love you, kiddo. She knew what my triggers were, and she would, come after me, figuratively speaking. And I tell you, it took every ounce of my being, but I remembered what my father said. And it took about 6 years of me staying calm. And the first step was me just going, okay, I'm not going to engage. I'm going to leave the room. But the consistency that I was able to deliver, and, she came back around full circle and was like, "Mom, I'm really sorry that I did all those crazy things."
Yeah.
But really again, it was the guidance of my father who stepped in to be my dad that helped me remind me, that I could be the mom that I always wanted to be, so that I could step in and be the mom that she deserved.
Yeah.
And I wasn't always that.
Oh, you always were.
Well, obviously the net result worked out very nicely.
Yeah, you always were, honestly, I think. And I will proudly say this in front of millions of people. My mom was braver and brighter than any other person around her in her life at the time when people were telling her to make other decisions, but she chose to keep me. And I think there's many other women who would choose otherwise. And I love my mom, and she's braver than most for choosing that.
I love you too, kiddo. I'll choose you. I told you this last night. I choose you first every time.
Outstanding.
Mm-hmm.
This is a fantastic sweet 16th episode of A Date with Destinee, and we'll be back right after this brief break.
Perfect. I love how easily the conversation flows between all of us. It's
Oh,
great.
yeah.
And we're back in on a very special sweet 16th episode of A Date with Destinee with two lovely sisters. I'm sorry, mother-daughter. and there's so much kind of depth to the story that is significant when shared, because it's a very personal but also very profound and touching story that concerns standing up against severe pressure to do what clearly would have been the wrong thing, and to kind of affirm life, and in the process bring us to where we are now.
True. Very true.
Okay, so what were you? Let's start off with what you were saying at the break. Though you started with something.
Well, I was saying that I could have been a statistic. I could have been a statistic, because kids who typically don't have a father in the home, and I did, at a certain age, I think around like 12 is when my stepdad came into the picture. But we still had problems. But kids who didn't grow up with a father in the home are more likely to go to jail, to become drug addicts, to end up on welfare, to become alcoholics. There's a few, are also more likely to have kids at a younger age. There's a lot of statistics where without fathers in the home, you are more likely to become these things. And thankfully, I didn't. I did have a couple of rough patches where I dabbled into some things, but I didn't become a statistic, and it was very likely possible because with me,
I want to add, I think it's important. So, in our family, we broke. So every woman in our family, my mother, my older sister Alicia, and me all had kids under the age of 18 out of wedlock. And Destinee broke that pattern.
Yeah.
She broke that pattern. And I think that's a pretty big deal. And then Destinee was talking about, that she was bringing up the subject of my mom. And I understand now how that pattern was created.
Yeah.
So your grandmother, let me go back to, so your grandpa, your great-grandfather, this was back in the 50s, actually had an affair with one of his students and came out as gay. And in sync with what we've been talking about, it broke up their marriage. And my grandmother was devastated. And my mom was the only child still left in the home. And so my grandma, to deal with all of this, because they tried to, make the marriage work, that's because that's what you did back then. I mean, that's
especially when you're a gay man.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's going to work, but.
Well, so your grandmother started drinking.
My grandmother or great grandma?
Your great grandma. Your great grandma Jane started drinking. And that really was hard for your grandmother to go through.
Yeah.
And so
that's what started
the pattern. Yes, because my mom was like, I don't want to be in this house. So she figured, well, I'm just going to get married and have a baby, and that's going to get me out of this house and solve all those problems. But it just
basically we can just blame the gays. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. That's a joke.
And that's when we got taken off YouTube.
That was a joke.
But yeah, that's how the pattern was created. And, as you get older, like family secrets, issues, people are more willing to share them with you, and I mean, I see now like how much that affected my mom, and my mom did what I do and what we all do. She just buried it and kept it moving, and it's funny because let me just share this last little piece to just kind of wrap it all up, or not, the podcast, but just this story. And Destinee knows this. When my mom was on her deathbed, because my mom died when I was 29, I'm 42 now. I remember her saying one of the things that really bothered her is she said, you and I will never have a chance to fix this. Because we had a good relationship, but we really hadn't talked about all this. And I remember her saying that you and Destinee will be the ones like to fix it. And we were, and she knew it. And I'm so grateful and I'm so proud to be your mom because, reality was like, I did a great job, but I was a screw up in many ways. And this kid right here, she loved me unconditionally, no matter what.
I still do.
I know. And she made being your mom, I wanted to be a better person. I wanted to be the mom that you deserved. Which, so I was able to pull us out of that dark place, which I know a lot of people aren't able to do that. But again, circling back to family, community, support, fathers in the home. I mean, that matters. So anything, and also kind of tying in the whole conversation, anything assaulting, families or togetherness or community. I mean, it doesn't, even if they're doing it in the name of, whatever.
Justice.
Yeah. Justice, fill in the blank. Mm-hmm. It's wrong. And I know a lot of us right now are feeling this because this is ultimately what's happening right now on a grand scale. They're trying to destroy everything that we are. And let me tell you, people like me who have had to pull themselves out of the mud, I know better. I know what you're doing. I know that you're gaslighting, and I know that you're trying to rip apart the fabric that we are. So, we cannot allow this. We have to do everything that we can to save what is good.
Absolutely. That is actually probably a perfect way to end the podcast.
Yeah.
Because that's basically everything that we need to work on in this country.
Yeah.
We need to save what is good and what is righteous about, I know that sounds super lame, but what is righteous about our culture and our beliefs. And a lot of that is family structure and community.
Well, sure. And I didn't go through all that just to have it get wiped away by this nonsense. No, I will fight. I will fight for my family. And I think it's important to say that, and this is a little bit bold, but it's true. I would rather die than comply. I would rather die than take the jab. And if I have to die in order to, if I have to die fighting for what I believe in, so be it. I've already made that decision.
We're all on the same page and at the same table on that one.
Yeah.
True.
And so this has been a fantastic opportunity. And just yesterday, we're enjoying wine at a fine gathering with just excellent music by the great McFunky. And
it was so good, might I add. I've never seen Tony perform until last night. And Tony, you were spectacular. McFunky, spectacular.
Yes, so you have to look around on the Bay Area, all the Bay Area guides, and find them. They'll be at a winery or some venue, and you will not want to miss that experience this summer. And so party on in the meantime. But this has been to go from just meeting Destinee's mom for the first time yesterday and immediately connecting, and just really so happy to meet such a wonderful person.
Thank you.
And to have the opportunity to have a very special guest on our Sweet 16th episode the very following day is just extraordinary, if not serendipitous.
True. Yes. We get to use our special word again.
I love that word.
Serendipitous.
And this has been another date with Destinee.
That was awesome.
Cool.
You guys.
Thanks, Mom.
I think we
Rock.
did all
That
right.
was really good.
Thanks.
I'm
Honestly, that just came. I was like, I know how this all ties. Which is perfect. How it
that
all
came
ties
out
in.
perfectly. I was like, yes.